there's only 1% of projects that launch within Web3 that actually end up being successful. And our team has actually studied and talked to hundreds of founders to kind of figure out the formula behind why only 1% of these projects actually come to life and really succeed over the long term. And we've really found three main things that tie into this. One, they have a strong team. Two, they have a strong culture and brand. And number three, they have a strong product market fit. So in today's video, I just want to dive into these three things and just really break them down a lot deeper with examples from each of these things, sort of like breaking down how these founders and how these teams have been able to build what they have from our experience looking in from the outside. So just diving into the first point, we're talking about strong teams. So you can see here that we put three examples of sort of like the biggest founders that we've studied in the space, being Luca Netz, Sagabon, and Sean, building some of the biggest companies within the ecosystem and kind of like being one of the best well-known and most respected founders within the whole space. So there's a couple of things that break down strong teams and founders, but there are certain takeaways that we can take from the best founders in the space. So first is they have a well-diversified team, right? So when we're talking about product, we're talking about go-to-market, we're talking about founders' presence. They're very well covered and they're well diversified when it comes to like strong devs, strong content creators, strong marketers, strong, you ask, they have it. So I think the core of every product comes down to the team that they have behind it. And I think these leaders have been able to build a really strong, diversified team that kind of like builds what they have. And they're sort of like the front facing of it all. Second thing would be a strong presence on the timeline. If we see these founders tweet about anything, half of the space will probably get really excited about what these guys are talking about because they've built their name and they've built their reputation to be really strong within the space, so that anytime they talk about their product, anytime they sort of like tweet anything, people get very excited and people go directly to what they're talking about. So I think second thing here is sort of like what Leon talks about, and a great friend of mine, it's the founder's funnel, right? Like how can we make sure that as a founder, you're able to maximize awareness for your brand without spending as much marketing money as possible? And I think these guys have been able to do just that. The last thing that I want to dive into here would be they have a broad network they can tap into at any point. The reason why we've been able to succeed and help projects succeed when they go to market is because we have that network that projects lack. And I think every time we talk to startups within the Web3 space, the first thing we tell them is don't focus on going to market, focus on networking. The reason why this is that you want to build the product, you want to have everything ready so that when you launch, you can tap into that network of people that you already know that are very supportive of the product that you're building, and they will support you and they will blow this thing out of the water any day of the week. So the reason why you want to build a strong network with founders, creators, spaces hosts is so that once you're ready, you can sort of like tap into those relationships that you've built already, sort of like make anything that you launch really big and sort of like have people that can back you from day one. So my biggest takeaway from this is focus on number three, create a broad network of people that you can tap into at any point, because everything else will sort of come after that. So let's dive into number two now. If we're looking at number two, it's strong culture and brand. So here I put three examples of some of the biggest projects that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, which would be Final Bosu, Abstract, and Bloob. Most companies in Web3 actually don't understand how to build culture and brand. And probably this is one of the most powerful assets any company could have and sort of like build on when it comes to like the Web3 ecosystem. And, just looking at the biggest companies that have ever come out of Web3, they have these two things. They have a strong culture and they have a strong brand. So if we look at Final Bosu, right, they've been able to build sort of like the saying against all odds around them, so that anytime you see anybody talk about Final Bosu in their tweets, they have the saying call against all odds. And that's something you can tie back to their brand, and that's something that resonates with people and builds a culture of people around what they're building. And it just gives them so much more power when it comes to like actually going to market and launching anything that they want to launch. If we're going to look at Abstract, right, sort of like the product or one of the products that, founder Luca Netz actually it's building right now, they've been able to do both really, really great. They've been able to build a strong brand that resonates with people. Like just the branding, the visuals themselves are really, really good. Web3 really resonates with visuals, and I think Abstract has been able to kill it at this. And the second thing, if they've been able to build a cult-like following because they give people early access to things that is building in their ecosystem, and this really gets people excited, right? They want to farm for the tokens. They want to be able to be involved within an ecosystem that has a lot of potential very early on. And it creates both brand recognition by being top of mind across all the creators within the space. And two, really building a cult-like following that kind of like follows them around and supports everything that they're doing over the long term. Last, I want to dive into Bloop because this is one that's really interesting. I actually don't really look at meme coins, but I think Bloop has actually done a great job at building, not I would say a brand as well, but I think more so culture. I think they've been able to build like a really strong culture around this character called Bloop, that's kind of been all over the timeline recently as well from some of the biggest creators. And I think they've been able to do this, right? There's a ton of meme coins that kind of come and go, but I think Bloop is one of those first one that launches within the AVAX ecosystem. And, you know, there's two things that tie into that. Them just having a really funny meme that they can tap into. And two, being one of the first ones to launch on AVAX has just given them that power to build a cult-like following. And once again, to be able to go and do great things. And I think they recently launched and, you know, it was a massive success. I think, yeah, like it was just really big launch. So that just goes to show how much a strong culture and brand really impacts you know, a brand in a project within the Web3 ecosystem. Diving into number 3, right? We have probably the most important one because it's easy to build a brand. It's easy to build a founder's presence, but the hardest thing is actually going to market. So product market fit. Only 1% of projects actually end up making it to this stage. It's a lot easier, like I said, to build a strong brand and build a founder presence, but the hardest part is actually releasing the product. And this actually happened with Abstract, right? Like they built a lot of hype. Luca Nets was able to go in a lot of spaces, a lot of podcasts, talk about the brand, sort of like build on the founder presence, build on the brand, build on the culture that Abstract had. But when it came time to launch, people were disappointed for some reason. I personally think the Abstract team absolutely killed it. But this is the hardest part when it comes to like Web3 marketing. It's actually attaching or actually attracting people that would actually be interested in your product. But when you boil it down, there's 3 things that, at least in Web3, make a really strong product market fit. So number 1, we have, it must actually be good and fun to use. So if we look at Off the Grid, this is a game I've actually tested myself. One of the only Web3 games I've actually played. And I think Off the Grid has been one of those success stories that's just been really, really good for Web3 because they have an actually fun game and people actually enjoy playing it. So number 1 is it must be actually good, user interface, the product itself, everything, and it must be fun to use. Number 2, it must be something that gives people social proof. So if we look at Kaito and Ethos, very similar products. Kaito actually just launched their TGE and it was massively successful. I think one of the reasons why Kaito was so successful, aside from the marketing they had, aside from the success they launched in, I think it was because they were able to give people social proof on being creators. And you know, Kaito absolutely like smashed all of these 3 points that we're talking about because they were actually able to like really nail down point 3, which is it must be something that your ICP or ideal customer profile would actually interact with. Their profiles were Web3 degens who were creators within the Web3 ecosystem, who were down to talk about crypto, sort of like mention yaps here and there to sort of like build that mindshare. And I think Kaito completely smashed these 3 points. They had an amazing UI. It gave people social proof by how many yaps they were able to earn for the content they were posting. And it attracted the ideal customer profile because these people just wanted to interact with the platform more, farm yaps, farm tokens, etc. And they were just able to absolutely smash it out of the water. And I think, you know, Kaito actually smashed all of these. They have a strong brand. They have a strong culture due to yaps. The founders and the team are very well diverse and they have a very strong presence. And they were able to smash all these 3 sort of like product market fit checks that at least we look for when we're working with projects within the Web3 ecosystem. So I hope you guys found this helpful. I'm trying to dive more into video content, so I'm going to be doing some more of these. But I honestly think that if as a project founder, you're able to tap into these 3 things, and I think these go in order, right? Like, yes, you want to build the product before you actually go to market, but when you're preparing to go to market, you want to build a strong team and a strong presence, strong culture and brand, and then you want to like make sure that your product market fit is right on point so that everything that you've kind of built on actually makes sense and it actually succeeds when you go to market. But I'll leave you guys with that. I hope you guys found it helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.